So, whenever Gurudev's godbrothers were present, and I was fortunate enough to see him with the two that were most closest to him, besides all the others that visit him. But the two that were closest to him were Vamana Maharaj and Trivikram Maharaj. And when they were together, they were like real brothers, like family. And when they had meetings, they would talk for 5-10 minutes a year. That was their whole meeting. And they would just laugh and talk and decide. In 10 minutes time, everything was decided. And they all had rooms right next to each other, and they were so close. And they were actually serving together as a triangle, and they were each part of that triangle, very strong, and they all supported that. But they didn't always agree on every point. So they would have discussions, and they would talk about the different roles of Radha and Krishna and who to support. And this would be played out in front of all of us. So we were actually learning like that. They were doing this small play because they had so much knowledge. And this was done in public, and we could all see where their hearts were and how they were serving Radha, Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. It was an amazing period to see three Mahabhagavats together like that. And whenever we went on parikrama, and there was all these Bengalis and then these giant Western people in between, and we would walk around, and his brahmacharis, they would look after our luggage and take care of the food, cook prasadam on the spot. We were so well cared for. And he would show us all these places that he had been visiting by foot for more than 40 years. And Vamana Maharaj and Trivikram Maharaj would also come to those places. Sometimes they had to be brought because they were getting older. And when they were together, they would sit there, and we would sit on the ground, and they would be up a little higher, and we would look at them. And then I realized that they actually were already pure devotees, and they were beyond Vaikuntha, already there and seeing everything, but not telling us, but taking us there. And they were offering us like prasad, especially when we were in Navadvip. This was the case because it was Lord Chaitanya's place, and where they all had the mat, Devananda Gaudiya mat at that time. That they were the founders of the three of them together, and they just offered us like prasad while we were there on El Parikrama. And if anyone else from the village, or they knew, or a godbrother, or related, they would be so humble, they would be so happy to meet. Such smiles would be there, such heartwarming meetings, and it is beautiful to see how the relations are so clean and clear, and what a gentleman they really were. Something that represents a very, very beautiful ancient culture where you get purified to the point where there is no more harm, no more any anartha, nothing is left but knowledge and love and affection. And what they represented was the mood of Lord Chaitanya, but also what they represented was the path of perfection through love and affection. And this is what he has been showing us.
One time we were in Varshana, we were in Varshana and Gurudev was giving sweets as we were going into he was standing in the doorway to it was this temple, I can't remember. It was where lots of people stayed on the roof and they put a pandal outside of the front of this temple in Vrindavan. It was a long time ago. Anyhow, I think it's not where they stayed in more recent years, later on. Anyhow, Gurudev was standing in the doorway and he was passing out a little bit of sweets as people went through the doorway, right? So he's standing in the doorway and everybody's pushing into the door. And anyhow, and lots of people stayed inside, because it's a dharma shell. So lots of people stayed in there, so they were getting sweets and going in the door, and there was just this big crowd there, and I was like, oh, I really want the sweet from Gurudev, but I don't really want to go inside, plus it's really crowded. So I just went up to the crowd really close and stuck my arm around the people like this, and I was like, okay, Gurudev's gonna find my hand at some point, So anyway, I at some point I got this, have you had that where Gurudev just really slams it into your hand? Anyhow, so he slammed it into my hand, but then he took my arm and yanked me through the crowd. So he pulled me through the whole crowd and then smacked me on the back and then pushed me into the dharma shell. Exactly what I was trying to avoid, Gurudev was so funny. So many fun experiences with him.
Was very sweet was Madhav Maharaj would go out for a walk in the evening sometimes with Brajanath Prabhu, and either Achyutananda Prabhu or myself, we would get to kind of sit with Gurudev while they were out. And I remember in Hawaii there were two separate places, and we would stay in one place, and then Gurudev and Madhav Maharaj would stay in the other place with Vrindavan Prabhu. And so then in the evening, Gurudev would just sit on his bed before resting and just chant, and he was do his bhajan. And so then my service was, or Achyutananda Prabhu's service was, to just sit and make sure Gurudev didn't need anything, and he didn't ever need anything actually. he would sit and chant, and so we would sit he would be sitting 20 feet over there, and I'd be sitting here, and there'd be nobody else there, and Gurudev would be just chanting to himself and doing his bhajan, and then at some point Gurudev would get up and go to the bathroom and then take rest. And sometimes he would even look, in the Bhagavatam. He had Bhagavatam by his bed, and he would look at the Bhagavatam, and read one verse before he went, took rest, So I remember sometimes Achyutananda Prabhu would kind of sneak over and look at the Bhagavatam and find out which verse he'd been looking at, and you can ask him about that, because he can probably remember. So yeah, we'd be there just really to make sure that Gurudev didn't need any help with anything, and sometimes you go turn his light off and like this, but it was the atmosphere was so kind of transcendental, and I used to sit there and wonder, how is Gurudev, what's happening with Gurudev, how is he doing his bhajan? And it made me realize, that Gurudev never did anything for himself. He was always, even when he was doing his bhajan, you could imagine that he was, he's serving his Gurudev primarily and serving Radha and Krishna, but he was also serving his disciples, answering their prayers. And it used to just occur to me, I wonder what Gurudev is doing. There's all different disciples all over the world doing their Gayatri, for instance, praying to Gurudev all at different times, and Gurudev's, answering their prayers and responding. And so I realized, 24 hours a day, then Gurudev was just serving like this and doing nothing for himself. You see, with pure Vaishnavas, they don't have any desire for their own, to do anything for
us
themselves.
in the room taking initiation. I think it was like Yashodanandan Prabhu, his wife, Ananga, what's his name, Jagamohan Prabhu, and a few others. I can't remember. I just remember the 5 people. Anyway, and then Gurudev gave my name. He said, he was trying to think of a name, and he said, and Madhavi said Candrika. And I thought, oh yeah, I like that name, but I want it to come from Gurudev, not Madhavi. And then Gurudev said, oh, Candrika, okay, but Caru would be very nice. Charu's a very nice name. So then he said, if you like Caru Candrika, like this. I was very happy with the name. And then, anyway, that time, I was very happily received Harinam initiation. Gurudev offered me Diksha, but I said maybe better wait until when I'm more qualified. Then Shamarani Didi said to me after, Gurudev's going to America, different places, if you want, you could go. I said, actually, I was planning to go to America prior to this to see one ISKCON Guru, Radhanath Swami, because I thought out of all the gurus, he's. So I was going to go and kind of spend some time with him, associate. See. And then now, no point, no chance of doing that. So I thought, well, this is perfect arrangement now. Instead of going to America to see him, I can go with Gurudev. So it was arranged. But fortunately, I arranged my ticket that I would come back in time for the ISKCON Rath Yatra, because I was so attached that I couldn't miss it, So I went, and it was just so amazing that traveling with Gurudev was so exciting, everywhere Gurudev was going, it was like, how to explain, revolutionary, Gurudev was going to all these places, and so many devotees, had heard some propaganda about Gurudev, and they were had their ideas, misconceptions, whatever, so they were somewhat resistant. And it was just so amazing to see Gurudev's powerful preaching, and his establishment of Tattva Siddhanta. Not only that, but how he would tell sweet pastimes of Braj Leela, and how we'd heard we'd read Krishna book, or we may have heard some of these pastimes little, but we'd not heard them spoken like Gurudev, like he was there, and he wanted all of us to come there with him, and feel the mood of Braj, be right there. So so it was so attractive, it was just a whole new experience. So then I was, I wanted to hear more and more, and that first tour, I remember he was speaking like Venu Geet, Gopi Geet, all these high topics, and he gave such taste, like we were like really sitting there, completely entranced, looking at Gurudev, and I would take notes and be like, oh my God, you just didn't want it to end. And then when it finally did end, you think, oh no, he stopped, wanted to speak more and more like this. So Gurudev was in such a deep mood, such a sweet mood at that time. He was really given a lot on that first tour, and I was so happy to have gone. And then I remember it come to the time of my ticket. I had to leave. It was it had gone, I think, East Coast, West Coast, and Badger everywhere. And then I think Gurudev was going to, I think it was San Francisco or something, and I had to leave before the end of the tour, and I was so upset, and I thought, oh God, I'm so stupid. So anyway, I went to Gurudev to say, Gurudev, it's time for me to go. I want my ticket tomorrow. I don't want to go, but what to do, tickets there. And Gurudev said, no, why do you have to go? You don't have to go, you can stay. He said, why not change your ticket? So I said, but Gurudev, it's not so easy. I don't have money to do that. And so Gurudev seemed like a little bit disappointed, and I was really a big mistake. I didn't realize. Anyway, so I remember, I don't know if I should say this, should I say it? Anyway, I remember saying to, I'll say it. I remember saying to Gurudev, oh, you know, Gurudev, I'm married, but I don't want children. You know, I've never wanted children. And he said, why not? Why did you get married? And then I said, oh, you know, for companionship. And he was like, that's not why you get married. And yeah, he was like, anyway, it's okay, don't worry. So he said, you know, you can carry on serving.